You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Good morning, good morning. We talk the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning to you. There it is.
Wow.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name's Chris. This is Jeff, and we are the Bible Guys.
You just made people's day.
No.
You did.
You know what?
They've been waiting
I actually know
with
people
bated breath.
I actually know people who don't like that.
Well, they can find another podcast.
That's true.
That's it.
I'm singing.
We're not the only podcast in the world.
I'm in a mall, and I'm singing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow. So I'm going to guess
Yep.
more people love it than hate it.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, I think so.
You think so?
If you think more people hate it than love it, why do you keep doing it?
You're so funny. Well, because I know personally some people who ask me to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, by the way, you're so kind. You always say that when I do things that people love it.
They do.
Yeah. So.
People love you. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how many people love you. I am, man.
I'm so impressed
Dude,
with the love.
People are like, oh, Jeff, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
but they're like, oh, Chris, yay, Chris.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
I don't think so.
No, I'm amazed by it.
Well,
you
thanks, Jeff.
You have this magnetism.
Okay, now we need to put this to bed. we're going to read a segment that Desiree wrote, and it's called New Year's Resolutions. That says, "Happy New Year."
Happy New Year.
Today, many are going to start their New Year's resolutions. Oh, is this going to be aired on?
Happy, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Since most resolutions fail, wow, that's a downer.
Everybody's like, just quit talking so loudly right now.
Right.
Yep.
Let's ask this question: what is something you would like to do, see or experience this year?
Ooh,
that's a pretty good one.
That is a good one.
So,
something you want to do or see or experience this year.
So I'm going to toss this out.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun if we got our wives and maybe even a few other staffers, and we did something out of the ordinary and took a trip together.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, just like 2 or 3 days or 3-4 days or something like that, like a quick trip.
Where to?
I want to go international.
International?
Yeah.
But your wife hates going international.
Yeah, but not something like that.
Okay.
I mean, like Dominican Republic, like she sees, like I FaceTime her and I show her some of the conditions of the places I'm staying, and she's like, ugh.
Okay.
And she sees like the poverty.
So someplace like take her to Greece.
Yeah, like Italy. Yeah.
Okay.
She'd love it.
Okay.
She would love it.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be neat.
Of course, I hit the lottery first, but
yeah, you got to do that. But still, okay, that'd be fun. Things that we'd like to see or do or experience this year. I just was telling you, one of my big goals is I want to start building. It won't all happen and be done this year, but I want to start building an outdoor kitchen.
Which is amazing.
So I love cooking.
For you. Yeah, you love cooking.
I love cooking, and I love all the outdoor stuff. I love smoking meat. I love grilling. I love cooking on a griddle, the whole 9 yards.
Isn't it funny how it's so predictable? You can predict like seasons of people's lives. This is the season, right? So when you're in your 30s, you want to do it, you just can't afford it, right? In your 40s, it's like, I'm almost there. And in your 60s and 70s, you're like, I waited too late, right? Now is the time. You are in the season where you're like, I think I could make it work financially.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe. And
if we do it by pieces, right? That's what we have to do. Is we have to do it in pieces. But I'd like to get started doing that this year. That's one of my goals.
But you need to do it now while you're still walking.
And then I'll tell you the other thing.
Upright.
I want to. Yeah, exactly. The other thing I want to do is my wife is gonna. I went having to travel a lot with the Timothy Initiative, and my wife is going to travel with me more this year. And so that's going to be that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really fun. Wow, that's actually really exciting. Yeah. Like I can't even tell you the joy that I actually have when you just said that statement.
So hopefully, I know that in January she's going to go with me to Nairobi, Kenya.
Yeah.
And she's never been on a safari or anything. So that'll be fun. I've been on a gajillion of them. So I'm super excited to finally be able to go do that with her.
Dude,
and then there's some other things.
That is such a win-win-win-win. That's like 4 wins, right? So you're gone and you're away from her and you love her so much.
Right.
So that's a win for you. It's a win for her because, she's with you. And then it's a win for, honestly, if she goes to meetings with you, having our wives with us always helps us.
Yes,
right?
well, 100%.
And let me deliver the line.
Yeah.
And then it's a win for her not purchasing something when you're gone.
Yes, exactly. Because this is what what does Bonnie buy when Jeff's gone?
I was building up to it.
Yeah, you're right. It's always, she always gets it,
right?
Not in a bad way. So I've kind of given her a bad reputation because she never does anything that we're not already talking about doing.
Yes,
it's just sometimes I can talk about buying a thing, but I think I mentioned here recently I'm kind of a researcher.
Yes.
So I look and look and look, and on occasion, normally when it comes to making decisions, I don't struggle except spending money.
Yes.
Sometimes it can be paralysis by analysis.
Okay.
And so I can be like, yeah, we should get a house sometime in the next 9 years.
Right.
Right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it's time to turn in the car and get a new car or whatever. And I can kind of get bogged down looking for what do I want, and can I find exactly all the features I want and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she's looking for the right deal. So on occasion, we've been talking about getting a new vehicle, and then I come home and she has a new vehicle, or the house. When I came home and she had a house,
right? Yeah,
that she bought. That kind of stuff.
That's so funny.
That'll be fun. The other one that she'll do is I think she's going to go to Egypt with me this year.
That's wonderful.
And so there's a great benefit because the pastors' wives want to meet my wife. They want to know, just that I'm a human and not just a pastoral robot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So being able to bring Bonnie along is going to be a blast.
I think it's awesome.
Yep. So that's one of my big goals this year.
Good for you.
Yeah. What other things do you want to see and do? One more.
I went from you last time I mentioned this, you said it was a flex, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had to build up to this, but for 2 years I was only going to the gym doing that training once a week, and then for 2024 I did twice a week.
Yes.
And for 2025 I'm increasing it to 3 times a week.
Ooh, it's going to get ripped.
No.
Yeah, he's going to be my bodyguard.
My goal is to be able to squat and bend without going. That's it. That's my goal.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you get old. Two things: you go whenever you go stand up, you go like this, and then once you stand up, you go, where's my?
Okay,
all right. Where's my stuff? And you start patting all your pockets, trying to see if you got all the stuff you need, right? Yeah. Or when you bend down, tie your shoes. You just stay down for a while.
Yeah.
Trying to think, is there anything else I need to do while I'm down here?
Right.
Because I don't want to come back down again.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what happens. Okay. So, speaking of getting older, Solomon's getting old and he's kind of in a bad place right now.
Yeah. He's a crotchety. He's speaking crotchety a little bit.
He is. This whole thing, he's just complaining now. Yeah. Get off my lawn.
Right.
My life's miserable.
Right.
Yeah,
so not bad.
Yeah. If you don't know, we're trying to figure out the worst transitions possible between our conversation part and the Bible talk.
I forget it every time.
Yeah.
And you don't. You remember it. So good for you.
So in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, he's been complaining about all the things, but then even then in this moment he pauses and reminds people, but I'm still king. Right?
Obedience to the
he
king.
says, obey the king since you vowed to God that you would. Don't try to avoid doing your duty, and don't stand with those who plot evil. For the king can do whatever he wants. His command is backed by great power. No one can resist or question it. Those who obey him will not be punished. Those who are wise will find a time and a way to do what is right. For there is a time and a way for everything, even when a person is in trouble. Indeed, how can people avoid what they don't know is going to happen? None of us can hold back our spirit from departing. None of us has the power to prevent the day of our death. There's no escaping that obligation, that dark battle. And in the face of death, wickedness will certainly not rescue the wicked.
No one mourns the wicked.
That's correct. I have thought deeply about all that goes on here under the sun, where people have the power to hurt each other. I've seen wicked people buried with honor, yet they were the very ones who frequented the temple and are now praised in the same city where they committed their crimes. This too is meaningless. When a crime is not punished quickly, people feel it is safe to do wrong. But even though a person sins 100 times and still lives a long time, I know that those who fear God will be better off. The wicked will not prosper, for they do not fear God. Their days will never grow long like the evening shadows. And this is not all that is meaningless in our world. In this life, good people are often treated as though they are wicked, and wicked people are often treated as though they were good. This is so meaningless. So I recommend having fun, because there is nothing better for people in this world than to eat and drink and enjoy life. That way they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives them under the sun. In my search for wisdom and in my observation of people's burdens here on earth, I discovered that there is ceaseless activity day and night. I realized that no one can discover everything God is doing under the sun. Not even the wisest people discover everything, no matter what they claim. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. As you were reading this, I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? Because there's not a lot here in terms of, like, for instance, okay, one of the things that we can probably talk about is obedience to the king. And you've said this before, and it's such a great saying. You said, all of that is great as long as you're a good king.
Right. Yeah,
right?
There's good kings and bad kings.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So yes, he's talking about, hey, obey the king. His command is backed by great power. No one can resist or question it. Those who obey him will not be punished, and all these kind of things. Well, all of that's fine if he's a good king. Right. So I'd like to think, honestly, that Solomon was a good king. Even though that he, had his own personal struggles, it is recorded. Everything that's recorded about Solomon, about him actually doing his kingly duty, refers to him as a great king.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I believe that he served his people well. I believe that when it talks about us obeying the laws of the land and respecting the government and the authorities that are placed over us, as long as they don't conflict with God's word, right?
Right.
And that's a little ironic because later on, Solomon actually gives in toward the end of his life to false idol practices.
Right.
And so therefore, that is a time where I would say, don't obey the king, right?
Right.
Or at least that which he's invited you to,
right?
Because it directly conflicts with God's word. So I think there's a sermon in there somewhere.
Yeah, I also think that what you have here is, he says, there's a way to do the right thing all the time. This really jumped out. Those who obey him will not be punished, is verse 5. Those who are wise will find a time and a way to do what is right. For there is a time and a way for everything, even when a person is in trouble. And I go, okay, that resonates. Not everything he says resonates with wisdom and right living. Right? So you got to measure his statements according to the rest of Scripture. But that phrase really does resonate with everything he teaches us in Proverbs, but then all throughout the rest of the Bible. It's possible to do the right thing, even when you feel like there's no other way. How often do you hear people say, well, I know you're not supposed to do that, but there wasn't any other way for me. I had to do the wrong thing. Right. People are quick to justify wrong behavior just by saying, I couldn't find another way. And he said, there's always a way to do the right thing. It's always possible to do right. And so, I think that there's all those little nuggets. You're always trying to sift through the book of Ecclesiastes and find what is true versus what's not true. And that only is possible when you know the rest of the word, because the Bible is its own best commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he talks about
death happens to everybody.
Yeah, death happens to everybody, of course. And by the way, when he says, I recommend having fun because there's nothing better for people in this world to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way they'll experience some happiness along with the hard work that God gives them under the sun. I think in the proper context, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is something to be said about enjoying life. I think I told you this, but I think I made reference to it. But when I was over in the Dominican Republic, which I went over to, this nonprofit that I'm working with, I ran into this woman at the hotel who said she goes back and forth from the United States to the Dominican. And I said, hey, do you like the States? And I was referring to the luxuries over there versus the area that we were in at the time. It was a pretty rough area that we were in. And she said, yeah, I like it. But she said, I just can't keep up with the pace. She said, it's a horrible thing. She says, I go over there and I make some money from business. She said, but I come back here to enjoy life. She said, people over here, like, they know how to have siestas. They know how to enjoy one another relationally, and they spend time, like, actually enjoying life. And she claimed that we over here don't enjoy life.
Right.
And I thought to myself, well, gee, that's maybe overstated, but perhaps not entirely untrue.
Right.
A lot of us don't enjoy life.
Yeah, I was in Rome, and we were talking with a guy, and I was surprised. So he's Roman. I was surprised. We'd be going through the day, and then we only had just a couple days. We were trying to put together a trip for other people to join us on this trip, which we'll eventually do here. But So we were trying to get restaurants scheduled and all those kinds of things because we need to test those out too. And so in the books it would say, or the websites would say the restaurant open at 7. So we'd be standing at the door at 7 because they close down, right? So they serve lunch, then they're shut down all afternoon,
right.
and they open back up at 7. We'd be standing at the door at 7, and they clearly have no intention of opening the doors at 7. It's just, they're just arriving. They're doing some mopping, they're getting the stoves going, the ovens going, all that kind of stuff. They mean to feed you at 9. They don't mean to feed you at 7, right? So as Americans, we're like, what do you mean? It's 2 hours after dinner time, right?
And you published it.
Yeah.
And so you better have that door open at 7:01.
So I was talking to the general manager of this hotel we were staying in. He's a really, really friendly guy. And he said, so Americans are always surprised at that. He said, Romans, we just kind of take it easy. He said, we're going to get things done. It's going to be okay. Right? Yeah. Everything's going to be okay.
Chill, man.
Yeah, he just that's what he kept saying. Just chill. And he said, if you're starving, he said, there's going to be something on the street available. Go get a piece of bread. Go get some ice cream or something. Go get some gelato. And then just come back. And I said, well, it's just surprising to me. He says, everybody else around Italy is a little bit more. He said, you have to go to Milan or something, and they're going to be more precise. He said, but do you know where they go for vacation? They come to Rome. He said, there's a reason. He said, we're always on vacation.
Yeah.
He said, everything gets done.
Yeah.
It all gets done eventually, but we enjoy each other. We enjoy conversation. We enjoy good bread. We enjoy good pasta. We enjoy a good glass. We enjoy beautiful places. But really, it's about just enjoying life. So the things get done, but they're not high pressured like that. And he said, I think you would live longer if you didn't have so much pressure and deadlines.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also something to be said about, a lot of the futility that Solomon talks about, where he says, you're going to end up dying, and all the wealth that you have doesn't really mean anything. And although, we understand the context for that. Wealth is necessary, and you want to leave a legacy for your kids and all that stuff. But in the end, what is it always about? It's about relationships, right? So everybody that I know is at the end of their life, they just worry about family, they worry about friends, and they worry about relationships, and everything else is great. Yeah. But without those essentials of and by the way, that's another nod to there must be a God. Because it doesn't matter who you are. You could be an atheist, you can be an agnostic, you can deny the existence of God, and yet still at the end of your life, you're going to finally realize that it's about relationships. You are created by your Heavenly Father to be dependent upon Him and dependent on others, and you're created to be relational with others around you.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it is.
So I think it's very appropriate that we've been going through Ecclesiastes here in the holiday season, right? On one side, he's kind of a downer, right? But the other side, in those glimpses of those sane moments, he reminds us, it's the people that matter. It's enjoying life that matters. Don't be so miserable. And so this may be on this New Year's Day, this may be that reminder again, hey, how do you have more fun? Now, I have to remind you, he writes a ton about the value of work.
Yes.
He writes a ton about the value of investing well, planning for the future. He writes a ton about having great character and doing what needs to be done. And it's almost like in this book, he's saying, so I did all of those things, but I forgot to have fun while I was doing it. I forgot to enjoy life. I just did the hard stuff. I just did the work stuff. I achieved and I did all these things and I became successful, but I forgot to enjoy it. And so do all the things you need to do, but decide that you're also going to balance it out. And this is why I'm constantly telling people, and you just had us do a message here recently on applying a Sabbath.
Yep.
Right? God says, work 6 days, but on the seventh day, keep it holy. And holy means set apart. And then we find out from Jesus says, Sabbath is for man, not man for the Sabbath. Right? This is a gift from God to you. And what happens is a lot of times we think we're so important, we're so busy, we can't possibly take 24 hours off and just reconnect with God and reconnect with our family and reconnect with the most important things. But God built it in to his structure and his plan, and it's a command. It's a command like don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't lie. Same level command. It's a big deal. Hoping nobody goes around killing anybody this year. It's the same. So you can take pride in the fact you didn't kill anybody this year, but if you're blowing off the Sabbath, no wonder you're miserable.
Yeah.
Right? So God says, I gave you this as a gift. Maybe 2025 is the year you go, all right, I am going to make sure that I recharge my batteries 1 day a week, 24 hours, spiritually, emotionally, with my family, relationally, right? That I do those things physically, and that you choose to have a little bit more enjoyment in life.
Yeah.
This is important. Don't stop working.
Yeah, I almost remember a three-point outline from one of the messages I've heard in the past, but somebody who's listening will know the answer to the third one. But it's I remember the formula was divert daily, withdraw weekly, and then it's something like pull apart annually or something like get away annually, but I don't know. But it's one of those acronyms, right? So divert daily talks about how even on a micro level, to have moments in your day where you have like mini Sabbaths every day, right? Yeah. Moments of Sabbaths on a daily basis, and then withdraw weekly, which is the 6 days in one, and then something annually. It's something where it's like, hey, make sure that once a year you're able to refresh and have a big chunk once a year. It's just a great formula.
I read an article in Wall Street Journal about this is probably 2 or 3 years ago about workplace rhythms.
Oh.
And they said that they were advising get up every 3 hours and leave your desk for 15 minutes, and you will increase your productivity by 30%, 20 to 30%. So if you just plow through, say you're a 9-hour worker, right? So you work 9 hours in a day or whatever. They're saying every 2.5 to 3 hours, get up, walk away from your desk and do something not work-oriented. Get a coffee, chit chat with somebody, keep developing relationships around the office, whatever, every 2.5 to 3 hours, and you will increase your productivity. Mm-hmm. It's counterproductive. What happens is you kind of get in a rut, and not only do you get in a rut, you get in a loop, a brain loop. And a lot of times you start doing the same things, and you start convincing yourself that you're right about a thing you're doing because you haven't paused. So your brain needs to recategorize what all the things you were doing.
It's like a Google work environment.
Yeah. And so it's your brain has to recategorize. Otherwise, your brain will start convincing you that this is the best way and it's the only way. And so when you get up and you walk away and you come back and you see it, your eyes see it almost like it's a new thing.
Right.
And you go, oh, wait a minute. Here's a new option. And you wind up increasing productivity and creativity by taking every 2.5 to 3 hours, taking a 10 or 15 minute break.
That's awesome.
It's a proven thing.
Yeah,
right.
Which is like Google, like I mentioned, does what they do for work environments.
Yep. So anyways, you have that, and then here's the other one.
And by the way, the word's abandon.
Abandon annually.
Yep, that's right.
So then he does kind of come to the end of this saying, listen, if you had access to all of the world's wisdom, you still don't know very much, right? And there is this, he's starting to lean towards how the book's going to end, and that is total dependence on God, right?
Yeah.
Because as wise as we can be with what God's word has to say, we don't know very much, and we can't see very far. And so the wiser you get, the more you realize how little you know, and how absolutely dependent on God you are to be able to truly be and do and accomplish everything that God has for you in life, to navigate safely through this life. And so just reminding ourselves, we can't see very far and we can't see very much, but God can, and God is active in our lives if we would lean in and trust him, right? Yeah. So 2025, this is that year again. You don't have to have everything under control. You don't have everything planned out because you can't see very much, you can't see very far, but God can. And so decide that, you're going to commit your ways to him, and he'll direct your paths.
Awesome. Well, hey, looks like that's our time. So happy New Year, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow on the Bible Guys.